Chapter 17. I fell asleep on the couch with Kitty for a few hours, the white noise, the sleet hitting the stained glass, and the whiskey's effects lulling me to sleep. When she woke me up to feed her, I changed my bandages. My finger bones were starting to lengthen a bit, and some of the cartilage had regrown around my ear. My ribs were even more sore, mainly from Nina's boa constrictor imitation, compounded by letting Kitty lay on me while I slept. I still couldn't take a big breath. The clothes I had burnt earlier were just a pile of soggy ashes now. I scooped them up in a shovel and took them over to the bell tower to dry out under the eaves away from the snow. They would work well as a defensive barrier, sprinkled around the edges of the property. No demon likes the smell of burnt demon blood, and it seemed like my property wasn't as secure as it once had been. Too many uninvited guests showing up unannounced lately for my taste, and too many of them were from the wrong side of the track. By the time I got back down the steps, my ribs felt like they were on fire. Nina had squeezed me harder than I had realized, and Kitty's massage hadn't helped at all. I ordered pizza and sat down with Amanda's journals again. When I touched them, I remembered Nina's version of Amanda sitting on my lap, her head on my chest, her hand on my shoulder. I shook myself free from those thoughts. They didn't accomplish anything. They didn't bring Amanda back, and I never had that kind of relationship with Amanda to begin with, nor did I ever desire it. Yes, I missed her. I missed my friend, and I mourned for the empty space she had left in my life and for what she could have been if she had lived. I resisted the urge to throw the journal across the room and instead forced myself to open it. I hated this. It seemed like I was invading her life, watching her like some sick voyeur, but I was doing this to bring her killer to justice. I took a breath and calmed myself. I was in control. I went back to therapy today. My therapist was impressed with the change in my attitude and thinks it's due to my involvement with the Bible Fellowship. She says that religion can be helpful in dealing with depression for some people. I told her about the black figure I had been seeing at night. She said it could be a few different things. I could be hallucinating, but she didn't think that was likely, so that's good. It could just be shadows coming in from the window, or it could be that I was seeing it in that space between sleep and awake. Since my dreams have been so vivid lately, I think that's probably the third option. She agreed, and she told me that the vivid dreams might be a side effect of my medication, and since I've been doing so well dealing with the depression, I could start to wean myself off of them. She kept referring to the fellowship as a good support system for me and talking about the need for community in my life, that I never had that before. She's right. I've never felt the need to surround myself with people before. I tried to explain that I don't feel any real connection with the people in the fellowship, though. That we're all just in the same room during meetings and that I just kept bumping into them on campus. She kept telling me that I should still give it a chance, that I might be surprised if I let my guard down, that people aren't as bad as I think they are. I don't know. I mean, I don't think these people are bad. They aren't. They're just not my people. Like, I even have people other than Ray, and I haven't seen him in a few weeks. That's my fault, not his. I keep coming home from class, and if Jeremiah doesn't drag me to a fellowship meeting, I just end up falling asleep in the living room. My therapist says that's probably because of the medication, too. Jeremiah keeps telling me that medication just clouds spiritual discernment, which I think is funny since my therapist thinks it's what's giving me the visions, as Jeremiah calls them. Oh well, personally I'm just happy I won't have to take them anymore. Jeremiah hit on me last night. It was weird. He's so much older than me, and he's not even interested in the same stuff. Like, without my visions and dreams, we would have nothing in common. I don't understand it at all. He picked me up like normal to walk me to fellowship. He's never acted interested in me before. And we had walked this way since I started attending on a regular basis. He's never tried anything before. He even preaches how we should be able to abstain from all the filth we see in popular culture. Why would he do that? We'd walked about a block from my house towards that apartment where we have the fellowship. He asked me why I never hugged or kissed the other believers in greeting. And I told him I just wasn't a touchy-feely type of person. He told me I should stop being fearful and being hard-hearted, and that I should be more loving, and that I should practice it on him. I said I didn't think so. But he laughed and grabbed me, and his hands went down to my ass and squeezed. I threw him off of me. And I asked why he did that. He said it was just a joke and that I should lighten up and that it wasn't sexual. And I told him it sure as hell felt sexual. And then he told me that my perception had been tainted by the world we live in. And then he quoted the Bible, that nothing is unclean of itself, but to him that esteemeth anything to be unclean, to him it is unclean. He didn't speak to me for the rest of the night. I must have really hurt his feelings. I almost feel bad about accusing him that way. He didn't mean it. I mean, he's a pastor, right? I feel like a jackass. I've cut my medication back to half of my usual dose. I haven't seen the Shadow Man in a couple of days. But the dreams keep happening, and the Shadow Man's in the dreams. Jeremiah hasn't come around in a few days either. I think I really upset him when I said he was hitting on me. He's probably pretty embarrassed. Last night, I dreamt that I walked down the street back home. I was trying to get back to my parents' home back in Stull. I could see in the distance, but no matter how long I walked, I never got any closer. I could see the porch light go on as it got darker, and it was the same light as had been in every one of my dreams for months. Warm, comforting, steady. So I resolved to keep walking towards it. I started walking faster, but out of nowhere there were so many people walking the other way, pushing me further and further back. When I looked at the people, they were all rotting corpses, dead bodies, pushing me farther away from the light. And then on the porch, I saw the Shadow Man blocking the front door. He put his hand on the doorknob and walked inside, and the porch light went out. I was left in the crowd of animated corpses, and without the light, they knew I wasn't one of them, and that I was a living flesh. I could be consumed, and I tried to break free from the crowd, but they pulled me under, and then I woke up. I remembered Jeremiah teaching about being tied to a dead body to rot. And when I tried to go back to sleep, all I could see when I closed my eyes was the Shadow Man walking into the house I grew up in and turning off the light. I went to the fellowship tonight. Even though Jeremiah didn't come and ask me to go, I decided I should, since my therapist thinks it's helping with my depression. He taught about the verse he quoted to me that night when he grabbed me, that when we have our minds in a spiritual place, we won't think evil thoughts, and that we won't think other believers have evil thoughts. He said that the devil wants to divide us through misunderstandings. We shouldn't assume evil of anyone who's a believer. I took this as an apology of sorts. It's probably the closest to one I will get from him, which is fine. He's older, and he's proud, and things were different when he was my age. It was acceptable to treat women like he did, and I'm sure he won't do it again. I dreamed again last night about the light. I was inside of it, and it was inside of me. It told me that everything was going to be okay. All I had to do was believe. I asked it where the Shadow Man was, and it told me that he was gone, that the light had burned it away along with my sins. All I had to do was believe and be made pure by the light of God, which would burn away all of the chaff. When the light dissipated, I was standing next to Jeremiah, and he was surrounded by the light. I'm not going to tell him about this dream. I haven't done any writing since the dream started. I just realized that. All of my projects have been sitting in a pile under my desk for I don't know how long, just gathering dust. I need to remember to pull them out and write something, anything, in at least one of them. Sure, some are completed, but I need to reread them, edit, proof, perfect. But I won't. That little bit of fear of not being good enough comes creeping through to tell me to quit and give up, and that my stories are crap. And then I think about what the believers would think if they knew what I had written, of all the perverse thoughts that I have, those filthy imaginings. Not that those thoughts would be something I would ever carry out or I would ever want to do. I don't think they could understand that just because I can imagine something happening, that the thing I'm writing about disgusts me. In that writing, I can confront it for what it is. To them, all of it's filth and evil and wrong. And I'm perverse for writing it down, as if somehow by writing these things I've committed the evil that I'm describing. But it is all just for the sake of telling a story. They wouldn't understand. And maybe they're right. Maybe when Jeremiah says that thinking evil contaminates the mind, he's right. Maybe when he says we become what we focus on, he's right. Maybe I should just let them sit. They aren't that good anyway. Now, I was wondering what happened to the notebooks. The sister said she had a purpose. The description Mr. Lewis provided also supported this. Was the purpose contained in those notebooks? Words had power. Stories had power. Since the day humanity had set foot out of the ignorant bliss of the garden into the shaded, harsh world of understanding, there had been stories. Stories that were more true than facts. Those who can tell those stories open others' eyes to truth. They teach them empathy. They show that darkness can be defeated, that light can triumph, or they could show the deep loneliness and despair that is a human life. This was something heaven or hell would love to control. What had happened to the notebooks? Another dream. I'm standing on top of one of the buildings downtown. All around me the winds are howling, swirling around me, trying to pull me from where I'm standing. But I'm rooted there. I want to let go, to fly into the winds and see where they will take me. I look downwards, and below me are thick black storm clouds, swirling around the base of the buildings. Inside the darkness, I can see people trying to climb out, but they're pulled back down. And then I look upward, and the sky is a deep purple blue, perfectly still compared to where I stand. When I look below into the chaos, I feel the winds, warm and humid, like the air that brings the first feeling of spring with it, with a hint of rain. In the sky in front of me is a burning red cross, made of flame, hanging in the sky as if suspended from the heavens. While the flames lick around it, I can see that the cross isn't on fire, but it's made of fire and is the source of the warm wind on my face. Behind the cross, I can see great storm clouds brewing, lightning arcing across them, lighting the clouds for a moment before the blackness returns. In this brief moment they are lit, I can see the people within the clouds, climbing over each other, reaching towards the light of the fiery cross, and before being pulled back into the roiling chaos of the storm. A voice behind me says, I have pulled you out from the chaos, and I have set you above the storm. Witness this, hold it in your heart, tell the others, for I have drawn them out of the storm as well. Your lives light the way for others as the cross does for the ones in the storm. You are the ones who will help the chosen to break free of the darkness. Fly with me, and I will show you the truth. Trust me. Set your heart on the light of the cross and let go. But I didn't. I couldn't trust the voice, and I was frightened, so I held on to the building. The winds turned cold, and the storm crept closer. I could hear the cries of the people below, mixed with the rumble of thunder, and then the storm overtook the cross. The light was gone. Even the purple glow from the sky was gone. The only light was flashes of lightning from the nearing storm. In the strobe of the lightning, I can see the people in the storm coming closer and closer to me. And a hand touches my shoulder. It's the shadow man, and I cannot escape. The light is gone. When I let go, there is no one to catch me except for the people below. The light has abandoned me. I talked with Jeremiah about the dream. He said it is a representation of the plight of most people lost in darkness without the light of the Word of God. He is concerned about the shadow man that I keep seeing. Even though I haven't seen him while awake ever since I stopped taking my medicine, he says it concerns him that it might be a demonic spirit trying to take possession of me because of my lack of commitment to the calling I received from the angel, which Jeremiah says is the light that speaks to me in my dreams. He says this angel is the same one that speaks to him and guides his ministry. The angel is named Jaziel, which means God portions. And God has granted us a portion in the saving of souls before the final battle between good and evil. He says that he knew I was one of the called and chosen before he saw me that day. The Jaziel had told him to find me. He said that my inability to trust the light shows that my heart has been hardened, that I have things that are holding me back, that I have not given myself fully to serve. If I do not choose to serve them, I will be trapped in the darkness. I'm so scared. I don't want to be in the darkness, but I don't want to believe him either. But somehow I do. Today, while we were walking, I saw the shadow man again out of the corner of my eye. Jeremiah saw it too. No one else has seen it before. Jeremiah pointed it out to me, how it hides in the corners and the shadows, and it's always watching me. And then he told me how Jaziel had told him that he would find me, that I would be the one who would be able to prophesy and see the visions his ministry needed to grow and save those in need. Jaziel told him that he was to go to me that day, that I would be sitting in a specific spot, that my name was Amanda, and that I needed to know that everything would be all right. And that there was a great sadness in me and also a beautiful light. He said that the light is fading, and unless I let go of the sadness in my soul, it will eat me alive like the darkness swallowing those people in my dream. He laid hands on me and prayed, speaking in tongues, and I felt the sadness and depression lift. And I felt the light again the way that I had in the first dream. I'm going to hold on to that feeling from now on. Jeremiah gave me a few verses to memorize so I can tell myself them if the darkness creeps back in. Romans 12:1 through 2. I appeal to you, therefore, brothers, by the mercies of God, to present your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable to God, which is your spiritual worship. Do not be conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewal of your mind, that by testing you may discern what is the will of God, what is good and acceptable and perfect. Philippians 4:8. Finally, brothers, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is commendable, if there be any excellence, if there is anything worthy of praise, think on these things. 2 Corinthians 10:4-5. For the weapons of our warfare are not of the flesh, but have divine power to destroy strongholds. We destroy arguments and every lofty opinion raised against the knowledge of God, and take every thought captive to obey Christ. I went to see Ray tonight. It's been forever, and I've been missing that weirdo. We talked for a long time. I told him how great fellowship was. I know it would help him a lot. He says he'll think about it, but I know he just said that to be polite. He doesn't seem to believe in God or even about spiritual things much at all. He just clams up when I start talking about it, or he changes the subject. I could never tell him about the Shadow Man. He would think I was crazy. He never changes. I even think he was wearing the same shirt the last time I saw him. He's still drinking too much. I know he's pretty lonely. The same as he was when I started going to fellowship. It's hard to be alone, to not have the support of community. It's nice to feel like I belong, like I have a purpose. I don't see that anywhere else I look. Everyone seems so lost and isolated. Ray sure seems lost and isolated. If I could just get Ray to go to fellowship and be with the believers, I know it would make his life better. I'm going to talk with Jeremiah about inviting him. I remembered that night. She came in all bright and fiery as usual. And the more we talked, the more faded her colors became. And I thought she was just tired. That she had been overstretching herself between school and this new group that she was becoming a part of. I was wrong. And I had brushed off her religion talk as ignorance and youthful exuberance, because I knew better than her. I was smarter about these things. I was more mature. And that attitude kept me from seeing what was really happening, a grooming for possession. She had squelched down the darkness enough that she was no longer even seeing it. And it wasn't strong enough yet that it would follow her everywhere. I was stupid and blind. But I don't know if she would have listened to me anyway by that point. By all accounts, I was a shitty friend. Having lived thousands of years, it was easy for time to get away from me. I hadn't even realized she hadn't been coming to the bar on a regular basis yet. Maybe I could have done something. Maybe I couldn't have. I sure as hell was going to do something now.